To all of those above me that watch over me, to all of you, my fave parapeeps on this side of the veil, welcome. This is Reverend Sean Whittington's Paranormal Ministry. I'm your host, Reverend Sean, the Rev. Welcome to my haunted house, my very haunted house. And I was just commenting in the green room with my guest today that it's been a little active today. Um, and I have some suspicions as to why. I won't go into that with you, but yeah, it's been a little active. And it might have something to do with my guest, too. So I will get to him as soon as I can. Let's get to the prayer urn. Angie W. from California. I know Angie very well. Her father, Carl, recently baptized, but we all know that he's also very ill right now. So she didn't specify what type of prayer she would like me to um, offer up to Carl. For Carl, I have one in mind here, if I can find it. Okay, this is a good one. Keep Carl in your prayers, and if you'd like to add any positive love and light and positive vibe to this, just touch your computer screen, close your eyes, and bow your head as I say the prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. O Sacred Heart of Jesus, I come to ask you for the gift of restored health, that I may serve you more faithfully and love you more sincerely. I want to be well if it is your will and redounds to your glory. If, on the other hand, it is your will that my sickness continues, I want to bear it with patience. If in your divine wisdom I am to be restored to health and strength, I will strive to show my gratitude by a constant and faithful service rendered to you, my loving Savior and Redeemer and my God. Amen. Get better, Carl. All righty. The Paranormal Ministry mailbag. Boom. Okay, who do we got today? Suzanne L. from Wisconsin. I didn't expect to get asked this. Have you had a Bigfoot experience, Rev? The show's only an hour long, and I know you all tuned in for my guest today, so I'm not going to go into that story. I will just say this. I am a believer in Bigfoot. I believe he is a real creature of flesh and blood with some supernatural properties attached to him, to it, to them. And maybe I will talk to my guest today about that. That's I didn't expect to get that question, but uh, I do believe I've had an encounter with Bigfoot, and I had recently touched base with a childhood friend of mine that I haven't talked to in 40 years. We grew up together in Colts Neck, New Jersey, and I always suspected as a little child, he had an encounter. And we recently talked about that, and he thinks so too. And I'm going to tell that story here soon to you all. But if you want to know anything about my wife and I and our ministry work, go to our website, www.ghost-b-gone.biz. If you go there, remember my wife and I do not charge for our ministry work, helping people with their paranormal issues. So I know times are tough. But if you notice the donate button and you're able to do so, click on it and send in a small donation. I promise you it'll be appreciated from the bottom of our hearts. And trust me, we will put it to good use. In addition to being an ordained exorcist, I'm also a certified spiritual advisor, intuitive coach. If you're having issues of a spiritual nature not attached to the paranormal, and you'd like to speak to the Rev about that, there's a place on the website where you can make an appointment to speak with me. But don't leave the website without navigating over to the page called the WSE course/book. On that page, you'll find the ghost store. Lots of cool things to buy in there, like this awesome throwback Ghost Be Gone coffee mug, if you go for that sort of stuff. But scroll down a little further, you'll run into my new haunted autobiography, God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry. And I quote, scariest book I ever published. That was Annette Munich, owner of Stellium Books, my publisher. But don't let that scare you off of purchasing a copy. I like to refer to it as a very different kind of feel good story where there's a lot of good versus evil, where good wins. But if you haven't done your good deed for the day yet, part of the proceeds of every sale of every copy of my book goes to support stjude.org, St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, Nevada, and the ASPCA. So you get to do a really good deed too, along with getting a piece of my heart and soul in blood, sweat, and tears, which is all in that book. You can get the book a little cheaper at Amazon, but you can get an autographed copy enclosed in a house blessing kit off of the website. Scroll a little further down, you'll see the Worldwide Society of Exorcists, which I am a founding member. I offer a college-level online course, Introduction to Spiritual Warfare, through the WSC. And this is the course for all of the true warriors for Christ out there that feel a calling and a longing to want to know, have more knowledge on how to draw your line in the sand, make a stand, circle the wagons, and put up a good fight against, God forbid, true evil if it ever comes calling. That's the course for you. You can sign up for the course there at the website. If you want to know more about the course, you can go to the Worldwide Society of Exorcists Facebook page, read more about the course, or just call me and ask me about the course. We can talk about it a little bit if you'd like to do that before making that type of commitment. Most importantly, please keep my former, current, and future students in your prayers. Okay, my guest. What I'd like to say about him would probably be inappropriate. I kid. I love him and I respect him, and he's just a cool dude. You all know him. You all love him. Brothers and sisters, please welcome to the show the one and only Rick Garner.
What's up, Rev? My goodness. Thanks for the intro there. I like it.
Okay, so you had reached out to me when I first asked you to be on the show, and of course I got to go through all the same stuff I always have to go through with you, beg you, write you a check, all that sort of stuff. You finally gave in, but you said, listen, you said, can we do the show,
Jeremy,
no pants on? I thought that was a little odd.
Well,
hey, you're the guest, and I knew that the show basically is, from chest up, the camera angles. So I thought it was safe. So when I let that rumor get out that, you wanted to do the show pantless, some of your fans and followers asked, well, ask him boxers or briefs. Apparently, your fans and followers think that you can tell a lot about a guy by the underwear he sports, if you will. So I just thought I'd throw that out there at you.
Yeah.
And see if you wanted to comment on it or if you wanted me to move on off this topic.
I'm usually a brief kind of guy, but
Okay.
I have been known to do boxers too. But there's the reality is that it's kind of like just like in hey Greg, kind of like just like with newscasters. They're sitting at that desk. You don't know what's going on. Matter of fact, most of them look all prim and proper in suits, and they're wearing shorts. Just completely cash underneath there, basically. Flip flops, whatever. Who cares? You can't see it on the camera.
That reminds me, this discussion, whatever happened to that show? I believe they filmed some episodes. I don't know if they ever aired. Do you remember for a brief time there, and this might have been like right before the pandemic, there was a naked paranormal reality TV show that they were filming. Do you remember that? I know you're laughing because you probably don't remember it. You can, when we get done with the show today, go online and look that up. I'm almost positive. Hi, Jeremy. I hope Jeremy's feeling much better. He had an accident, yes. Jeremy. I hope you're feeling much better, brother.
Yes, have definitely had Jeremy in the prayers, and certainly it sounded like he's on the mends. Although this show may have him regress somewhat, basically.
He just has to keep the ice packs on his face while watching this show today.
Yes. Yes.
But if anybody out there watching knows about this show, I'm not making it up. They had in the makings a naked uh, paranormal reality TV show. I don't know if they actually ever aired one or two episodes and it bombed, or if they decide after they filmed it they decided not to air it. But true story. So I'm going to research that after
You've
today's show.
you've got me curious. I wouldn't be surprised because, of course, in the landscape of paranormal entertainment, because I firmly believe that there are two types of programming. There's the entertainment, which that's all it's there for, and then there's actually the real deal, the research and investigation part. Something like that, yes, I would not be surprised in the entertainment genre.
And something else, I don't know if you were aware of. I'll give her a shout out because her and I have done this show together before as
there we
the
go.
Mod Squad, Return to
Yes.
Mod Squad. We have a TV star among us on the Paranormal Ministry family now.
Oh, yes.
One of my producers, Adrian Hart, just filmed an episode of Haunted Hospitals.
Nice.
Very
Outstanding.
cool. So you met Zach in the green room. He's taken over her because now she's even too big to do my show anymore.
It happens.
So
yeah.
I still love her and I miss her, but big TV star now.
Right.
So I can't wait to see that episode. I bet you she rocked it.
Oh, absolutely.
And, that's going to be an excellent episode. What else do I want to ask you? I'm almost afraid to. You know what? I might as well ask you the same question that unexpectedly I was asked from my mailbag, Bigfoot.
Oh, yes.
I didn't expect to get a question like that, and you probably didn't expect me to ask. What do you think about the big guy? We're getting into squatching country up in your neck of the woods, and where my producer's at, and even in the mountains outside of Vegas here, up by Mount Charleston. Been some reports. I do believe I had an episode. A little encounter with him when I was a teenager in junior high school on a camping trip in some mountains out on the outskirts of Woodland Hills, California. I just recently touched base, reconnected with a childhood buddy that I hadn't talked to in like 40 years, and we had an incident together, and I believe something he told me had happened to him. It didn't dawn on me at the time, and now 40, 50 years later, I'm like, I bet you that was a Bigfoot encounter. When I reached back out to him, tracked him down, and we talked about it, he thinks he did too. He hadn't thought about it for many, many years, but give me your Rick Garner from Unexplained Cases, Paranormal Authority opinion.
Take on it all.
This phenomena.
You've got a big topic right there. We have yet to open officially a case on Bigfoot, and obviously plenty of people have. However, becoming the paranormal news network, if you will, that we've always wanted to get to, I will offer the teaser that we will be exploring the New Zealand version of Bigfoot very soon. So I can't necessarily give you an exact date, but that is a case that is in the works at the moment. And kind of like with all of our episodics and all of our cases, they have a little bit of a life of their own, how they unfurl. We go more for quality than for quantity. But that's coming out soon. But my official take would be, I think, similar to yours in the sense that the fact that he's been around and talked about for so long, there's so many different flavors. I think of swamp ape, for example, is another name. Bigfoot, of course, is always the classic one. But then if you think of like Yeti, all these different variations, whether it's in literally a swamp or the tundra, the snow, or out in the forest, basically, and you have all these limbs that are constructed in these strange ways and these patterns and things, these sounds and everything that people listen to. Clearly, something's going on. Now, whether or not we're talking about an entity that has like lived and has been able to be secluded for so long, or are we getting into like extraterrestrial, or dimensional, interdimensional type of scenarios where something is slipping in and slipping out, which would make a lot of sense in not being able to ever catch anything.
And
Um,
then people saying that they could be staring right at it and then they don't see anything anymore. So we're talking about it slipping in and out of dimensions or having the ability to cloak,
right,
if you will. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if that ever ends up coming out to be the case. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. One of our other unexplained case members, Mr. Michael Chen, is in the chat. So howdy there, Mike. That's yep.
Hey
There.
Mike, how are you,
So
brother?
so yeah. So unexplained cases is Michael Chen. He and I are actually in the Maryland area, and of course Darren Dido is out in the Phoenix, Arizona area.
I know what I want to ask. Now you're bringing up the crew. Does Miriam still have a crush on me?
I believe no one could ever get over that. So no, she can't quit you. So
I didn't think so. I just give her
this.
if when you see her, give her a big hug and a kiss. Tell her I think of her fondly all the time.
Hey,
Hi,
hey,
Courtney.
Courtney. Yeah, so this is a question. I don't know. You said you had a list of questions. You and I could actually talk without a script for hours. Some folks have been asking about the live show because, of course, that was one of the fun things. We got to have you on the live, just like I've been on your show now multiple times. We wrapped up Unexplained Cases live last May. We had the pleasure of doing that live show for a year. It was a pleasure. It was also a lot of work, as you well know, doing live shows. Mixing that along with our desire was to do more episodics, as we refer to them, the pre-produced, the blood, sweat, and tears that go into making those episodes. It just was a decision to where the show had kind of like accomplished what we wanted to, and we wanted to focus on the episodics. So Miriam, of course, still a friend. Angela Bowley, still a friend, our psychic artist, but they will probably pop up in episodics from here and there. But she's definitely doing a lot of interesting things, very motivational things right now through her channels. And
Very,
of
very
course,
cool.
Angela's still painting and doing fun stuff too. So
Very, very cool. Yeah, people had asked me about that. I'm glad you addressed that. I didn't have that as one of the questions, so I'm glad you addressed that, brother.
no problem.
Um, and that reminds me, anybody, I know you and I aren't going to stick on Bigfoot the whole time, but just so everybody knows, if anybody's watching that is into that topic, my guest next week happens to be one of the leading authorities on that topic in the paranormal community, Dave Spinks. So he will be here to talk about all that Bigfoot stuff. The last thing I want to say about it before we go is I was talking to a good friend not too long ago who recently moved to the Great Northwest, out in the middle of the forest,
Mm-hmm.
basically, out walking her dogs like she does all the time. And I just happened to joke with her and say, "So, have you made friends with your neighborhood Bigfoot yet?" She got this look on her face. She had an encounter and didn't even know it. And a friend of hers asked her that very same question before I did, days before. And it wasn't until she was asked that question that she remembered she had seen a Bigfoot kneeling, either like washing or fishing by like a stream where she was hiking. And it looked at her, and she remembered all she could think was this voice telling her, "You're sleepy, you're tired, you need to go home, you don't see me." And
Wow.
she had totally forgot about it. The dogs didn't react or anything, and she didn't remember that incident until somebody had asked her that question. Had I or her friend ever asked her that question, she may have totally forgotten that had ever happened. So
Right.
I do believe some of that infrasound supernatural psychic thing might be happening too.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. It's an old entity of elemental nature, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I just,
Mm-hmm.
I do believe there will be some disclosure on that one of these days, along with the
Yes.
aliens and all that other stuff. But
Yes. All those
anyway, let me get
mysteries.
to here's your list today. It's no longer the big pages with 30 questions because the show's only an hour long. And these questions are mostly fans and followers of yours because when
Oh,
I posted that you were going to be on, I start getting questions
hey.
to
Well,
ask
awesome.
you. So, first one is, how was your Christmas and New Year's, and did you make any New Year's resolutions?
Ooh. Well, Christmas and New Year's was pretty phenomenal. Got a chance to for Christmas to spend some time with the family, the in-laws here. We actually, just to keep everybody together, we get like an Airbnb house that, like, last year was kind of on one of the rivers here in Maryland. This one was actually on the Chesapeake Bay, so phenomenal view, awesome sunrises, great time to sit out there and be with nature. But it was a chance for us all to be together. Basically, it was just an easy way to do that. New Year's, nothing too terribly special. There you wouldn't have any media of me, up on tables or dancing or anything like that. Maybe at other events, but not New Year's. As far as any
At
resolutions,
church. Usually that you do that at church.
yeah, well, exactly, and people try not to take pictures there. Probably the resolution that's always the case is we have a word. We like to do a word instead of a resolution, which is for us is intentional. Being very intentional in all things, whether that's in relationships or communication or planning, just being very intentional about that.
Very, very cool. This is a good one. And you might have gotten this question from me too. How have you and your family and everyone close to you that you love, how has everybody been doing through the pandemic?
Been doing very well. As far as I guess the closest it's hit us would be mother-in-law. Actually had it. Oddly enough, my father-in-law did not catch it, but we basically just kind of felt like he was too ornery to get it. COVID's like, no, forget it. I'm not even touching him. But no, it has definitely been an odd couple of years, and that would probably be the understatement, just because of how life changed, new normals. There's now a bit of feeling, I think, of things are finally kind of relaxing. I don't believe they'll ever go back to the way they were. We're no longer that innocent, and you're going to have people who want to wear a mask all the time. Well, that's their choice. I mean, wear a mask if you'd like. It's never been something that I've been very fearful of. I basically kind of look at it as like, I'm not going to live my life in fear. Obviously got the shots and everything, but it's like I'm not going to restrict movements and be just holed up. That just our own personal choice. Interact with people as much as possible and do it in a wise way.
I occasionally pop on to your blog that you have. Mm-hmm. Did I write the blog down here? I probably didn't, but I like your blog. Mr. Garner goes to Washington, but I know that the actual web address is a little bit different. I think it's just
richardtgarner.com.
There you go. Mm-hmm. I love your blog. You need to be more active on the blog because you have a very you write very well. I say right. You're typing it on there, but you write well.
Thank you.
And I have had other people say, why isn't he on there longer or more often? And I thought, with as crazy as things have gotten, everything, pandemic, paranormal, politics, life, that you would have knowing you as I do, and I don't know you real well, but I know you pretty well, would be on there more with, putting a lot of your 2 cents in or your take on certain things. And we need to get more of that from you.
Well, I'll put it this way. I have a number of drafts that I have created. I think I have gotten a little bit more, I guess, in my old age, maybe a little bit tapered as to when and where I share things. And so I'll start something and I'll be like, let me come back to that. Or I'll finish it and I'll be like, do I really want to put that out there? So I have thought about that because it's definitely collected a little too much dust as of lately. Need to update that blog.
Very cool. Just let's check off the boxes here because I think there was a time I asked you this silly question, and I think your answer was that you were a believing skeptic. So where do you stand now on your belief system? Where does that sit on ghosts, angels, demons, all that good stuff?
Ooh, very deep question there. That would probably sum it up very well, and I think to articulate off of the believing skeptic part would be there is so much that is unexplained around us, but at the same time, it is so easy to like fall for something just because it seems like it's real or it seems like it's spooky or whatever. And having a broadcast media background, that's where the skeptical part comes in. Darren and I, radio, TV, broadcast news, he definitely being the anchor and reporter in his background, me behind the scenes, but working in those genres. It's just always good to come at something and like, all right, let's just look at everything. It's almost as if like, yeah, that seems phenomenal, but can we disprove it? Because even if we catch the evidence, even if I catch something that's just redonkulous, it would be like, okay, that really seems real, but let's go through this. Was someone else there? Was there any possible way that was a finger going across a microphone? I mean, all of that. And then basically when you rule all that out, then it's like, okay, this is unexplained. This is what we got. You be the judge. And that's usually where we just like to, kind of a little bit toss it to the viewer to be like, and a lot of times people will be like, oh no, that wasn't this or whatever. And I'm like, that's perfectly fine. You're perfectly fine to believe it. The one thing we certainly aren't going to do is stage anything. I mean, there's episodes where there's just nothing that's there. We have no evidence, and that's okay because we're not going after sensationalism. It's like, here's a case we opened, here's what we found. And sometimes there's just nothing there at the time, but then that could mean that we could come back and visit and might be able to collect something at that time.
Well said, young man. And I did write down your blog on here. Yeah, I did write it down because I wanted to comment on how beautiful your story was about the 20-year anniversary to September 11th. I loved that.
Thank you.
What did I know? I wanted to ask you something here, and I bet you I didn't put it on the list here. It's about. I probably didn't.
We're going off topic.
I'm going to ask you anyhow. I already asked you how the team was doing. Somebody wants to know how the team's doing.
Yes.
Oh, I did ask you. This is my question. Did Miriam still have a crush on me? So you said yes, totally.
I'm going to hear from her about this.
Here we go. The last. You just recently posted it on your Unexplained Cases YouTube channel. I watched it the other night.
Yes.
Forest Haven Asylum.
Yes, indeed.
I loved that. And what I loved about it was very Blair Witch-ish in the beginning, which I loved. You're outdoors.
Yes.
You get to this place, which I didn't have to ask why are they there during the day, because I would be hard pressed to go to that place at night. That's the kind of place where you have to be worried about the humans that are living in there more so than the ghosts. But I caught something watching that film, and you probably already have caught this too. And if you did, great. I caught at the 35.33 mark where you and your buddy walked into that second big building, and one of you said hello, and I don't remember a woman with you guys. It was just you and your buddy from what I know. And a woman clearly answered hello.
Interesting.
Did you catch that?
I don't recall that at all.
Well, mark it down at the 35.33 mark.
Making a note. But see, that to me is also something that we encourage, because most of the time when I go through all of our video that we collect, I'm listening to everything with noise canceling headphones, because what I've found is, what people don't realize, this is an amazing tool at paranormal investigation. Absolutely. And that's an iPhone. Could any mobile phone be useful? Of course. I'm a little preferenced towards Apple products. But what I have found that's fascinating is the amount of disembodied voices that the phone catches. Most of our video is shot with our iPhones. We have special rigs with lights and boom mics on it, but that's actually the vehicle that's recording it. And there are times when I'll be listening and I'll be like, okay, so that's something. Then let's listen to it. And then there's a phrase. And that happened, talking about asylums, that happened at Pinhurst Asylum in Pennsylvania. 2 different times where there was a phrase that was actually spoken. Wasn't me. Nobody else was around me. The phone picked it up. I didn't hear it with my ears, but it was recorded there. But I'm going to have to check out that 3533.
Yeah, please do, because I listened to it several times, and it just sounds like the nicest. I'm just going to call her a nurse or something there at the home. That it was genuinely, it seemed like welcoming you to there and saying, "Oh, hello,"
right?
Back to you. And I'm like, I'm waiting for you guys to comment on it, and you did. And I'm like, did they have a girl with them? And I went back, saw that you didn't have a girl with you. And it was right after that you guys walk into that one room that you both commented on it seeming like you guys walked into a legitimate
icebox,
below zero icebox.
That was
so
ridiculous.
I thought maybe that was the room that she was residing in, and you walked into that. The hello subconsciously, and her vibe led you guys there, and you went into that room. And so yeah, check that out for me and get back to me and let me know if I'm hearing things, because I thought, am I hearing that here in my neighborhood through my headphones, somebody in my yard saying hello or something, but it's there. It's definitely there. So
I'll check it out. I appreciate that.
Okay, here we go, because I don't know if you, Adrian, and I are going to do another Welcome Back Return of Mod Squad episode. And some other people asked about this. The paranormal community over the past 20 years, you've been involved in the paranormal community a long time. Let's talk about changes, good or bad. If you have anything you want to rant about or not about the paranormal community as a whole, and I'll tell you why I throw this question at you. Because you are an experienced filmmaker, and my guest last week is in addition to being an elite ghost buster, he still is a magician, so he's able to catch the sleight of eye on a lot of these shows when they do make an attempt to fake something. And he had caught, a REM pod in a hallway, and the camera was way further back, and there happened to be a door there, and he could see obviously a crew member, and maybe the stars of the show had no idea, but he could see a crew member waving their hand like that to make the REM pod go off. Are you able, being a filmmaker, do you catch a lot of that in these paranormal reality TV shows? Because they do, a lot of people believe there's many stuff is faked. And part 2 of the question is changes over the past, let's just throw out 20 years, good or bad, your take on the paranormal community as, the state, Rick Garner's State of the Union, if you will, of the paranormal community.
Nice. Good setup. Basically, like when Darren and I first started this, and this was in basically 1999, 2000. At that point in time, media wise, I mean, I remembered like MTV had the show Fear, which was an amazing concept. Currently, Destination Fear is similar, but yet not even close, with the idea like MTV's version was you had this group and they were like, hoods put over, dropped off at a location. A computer had all the information in the
I
story.
loved that show.
The premise, it was like, it was a great premise. But you had that. And of course, it kind of plays into what everybody like, loves the vibe of like, hey, you're overnight, you're at some creepy place, and so at that time, and a Haunting, actually, I think was probably also out. Besides X-Files, there was very little media that was
Did a lot of
going
that
on.
on Scariest Places on Earth too, with Linda Blair.
Yep. So all of that, you had very minimal amount, and of course, you still had folks that were investigating, but you really didn't have platforms. You didn't. Social media was not a thing, and so now at this point, because it's so easy to start a channel, to start a group, to be out there. I think what's happened, and this is what's really unfortunate, is that there has become this, and I'm not even sure what the exact word would be. It's certainly, there's some selfishness, there's some self-serving. It's basically kind of like this whole thing about I want to be a star. And so there's this celebrity thing, and it's kind of like, almost wanting to get to the level of a network. And I'll tell anybody right now, because this is not an aspiration of mine or our crew at all. We have no aspirations whatsoever to be associated with a network in that sense, because at that point, you lose everything. It's like, if you think that you're going to keep your name and your formula and whatever, I'm sorry to tell you that would be incorrect, because it's going to be what they think they can get sponsors for, what they think viewers will watch. Which, if you start looking at every single show that's out there, it's creepy, it's a demon, it's sensational, it's scary, it's all this stuff. And I think the thing that I've realized as of lately that I would want to tell people is the paranormal is not scary. There are elements of it that are incredibly scary, and I know for a fact that you, Rev, know exactly what I'm talking about. There is intensity, there is spiritual warfare, there are certainly scary parts of it, but the whole thing is not scary. It's not this like, people overreacting. And I mean, at the end of the day, listen, if you're a professional and if something happens, you're not going to be going, oh, what was that? What? And all this over drama. Because if you are, then I'm like, all right, just go home. Just go away. Because any evidence you wanted to collect, you don't see police officers or inspectors running around unless it's like, old time soundless productions or whatever, Keystone Cops. You don't see them acting a fool. You have some professionalism. You hear something, it's like, okay, let's go investigate that. Let's be cautious. Is that a real person? Is it not? That's what it's about. But there's this such a drive for it to be scary. There's this so much competitiveness. And it's like, we should be trying to figure things out. We should be trying
It's
to go
funny
deep.
you bring up Keystone Cops, and I know I'm going to get hate mail for this. A lot of people didn't see this, but it's like people weren't thinking about being a star in the paranormal field until like um, Ghost Hunters was out for a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course Ghost Adventures. And you
Yes.
know what I noticed right off the bat with Ghost Adventures, and I watched many an episode. I watched many an episode of Ghost Hunters when it first came out because it was new. It
Right.
was different. It made you feel like, okay, I'm not a weirdo that I write that I do this.
Yes. Yes.
Now there's a TV show about us.
Yes.
Same, and Ghost Adventures was so much different than Ghost Hunters.
Yes.
I said, okay, these guys are cool to check out because they're just different.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I noticed about Ghost Adventures? You bring up Keystone Cops.
Mm-hmm.
They were, if you sit back, and only because I'm a big fan of this old show,
Yes.
if you look at it and dissect it, they're the Three Stooges. You've got Larry, Moe, and Curly. Tell me if I'm wrong. If you sit back and you watch the early episodes of Zach, Aaron, and who's the guy that who left first?
Nick.
Nick.
Yep.
I loved Nick.
Yeah.
They were very Three Stooges. Each one had a little. I don't know if they did that on purpose. Zach was very Moe-ish.
Yes.
Aaron was very Curly-ish.
Oh, yes.
And Nick was very Larry-ish.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
And I think that's what made that show work.
Yeah.
Because at that time, people were now starting to get a little burned out on Ghost Hunters because it was the same old thing.
Yeah.
And now I think people are just burned out because, like you said earlier in your comment, every show is the same. I still turn them on, hoping that I'm just going to maybe catch one that for some reason it's just going to just something different about it. And I'm going to want to watch it.
Right.
And I can barely make it through 10, 15, 20 minutes of them. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah, but it's also, there's this drive, and having spoken with producers, who've wanted me to be on an episode, I was being coerced to change my story, basically, and I wasn't there because I was Unexplained Cases or an investigator. I was just an average person, and I'm like, listen, I get that you can, if you've got the truth and you need to kind of water it down just a little bit, but when you start basically trying to change a whole narrative just because you're trying to accomplish something, I'm like, okay, well, then it's no longer truth. Now you're just placating to allegedly, like, this is going to get us ratings. This is going to keep the sponsors. And I'm like, that's why for us, our interest. And I mean, we've turned down opportunities to be part of things because for us, it's more about finding the evidence, finding the truth, parapsychology, investigation, preserving history. I love the fact that I have, and I was just looking through it today in storage, I have beta cam SPs, I have DVC Pro, D3s, 1-inch reels, all of this stuff that I keep tucked away that I'm going to start getting digitized before it gets too long for the poor things. That these are people that are gone. These are folks that had stories that in some cases I've gotten an email like, hey, you interviewed my grandfather and he used to tell us this story, but we never recorded it. Is there any way we could get a copy of that? Absolutely. Here, let me make you one. How quick can I make it for you? That is the joy of what we do in preserving history like that.
Another thing that I thought of when you were out there was, in that last episode I saw on your YouTube channel, was urbexing. I thought of urbexing. And there's plenty of people. I would love to have your episode. Oh, Jeremy, that's probably for you.
Yeah. There's secret episodes of the Rev, that's out.
I know a lot of urbexers, and when I tell them, did you run into a ghost or see any paranormal activity? Some of them are just so they truly don't have a clue, and they're big time urbexers. They give me a look like, no, I wasn't really doing that. I'm not a ghostbuster or a ghost hunter or a paranormal investigator. I'm an urbexer.
Right.
So, and I've interviewed many, many credible witnesses from all branches underneath the paranormal, community umbrella: ufologist, cryptozoologist, ghostbusters, ghost hunters. Now you're out there essentially urbexing, but you're paranormal investigating. Now, I am talking to more and more people that a guy goes out squatching, he sees a UFO. A guy goes out on a night watch to see if UFOs, he sees a Sasquatch. A guy goes to a haunted location and he sees one or the other. So many of these people are experiencing getting far more than they had planned for when they go out. And I'm thinking, all the adventures that you've been on, has it ever turned into unexplained, unexpected cases episode?
That is a phenomenal question. And I also have to acknowledge Shelly, who thinks that because we're friends, I must be a cool dude. So Shelly's got some good taste. So I appreciate that, Shelly. Um, so, I can't think off the top of my head where we've had that, but I fully get what you're talking about, where you're like, you're here for this one thing and it turns into something else. And I think that is the case anytime when you're dealing with the unexplained. I mean, for example, you're talking about urbexers. I've talked to urbexers who they don't believe in ghosts. They're strictly there for the joy of it. And like even something like Forest Haven, you could explore an abandoned location strictly for the joy of like, hey, this is a time capsule. But you also have to realize this is a decaying property. Like when we went there during the day, that being it was a guided tour. We had a gentleman showing us the location who was very familiar with it. But for Mike and I, we'd never been there, and so again, use your brain. It's like you want to go to someplace like that during the day where you can see what's going on, where you're not going to fall down a hole. And then, of course, yes, you certainly in locations
Well,
like
I'm
that.
not going to give the guy a name. I do know this one gentleman who'd been producing paranormal reality TV shows forever,
Right.
and he said the invention to have them in the pitch dark with nothing but the night vision cameras, that was all TV.
Mm,
Um,
hmm.
Many ghosts, even when I was a kid and doing this, riding along on my Schwinn with my little Polaroid camera, that kind of the film pops out and
Yep.
develops. And
Hmm.
I don't even think I had a tape recorder until much later. And I'm using the same voiceover recorders that take the little cassette tape now. No, I had a bigger one then that probably took a bigger cassette
Yep.
when I was little. But, um, you went out during the day.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and if a ghost is going to appear, it
Hmm.
doesn't matter if it's day or night. It's just the
Exactly.
spooky element being in the dark. And
Exactly.
I know a lot of
It's
guys that have gotten hurt too,
yeah.
walking around, only seeing on their night vision camera. That's where they're watching where they're going to go,
Hmm.
uh, and gotten hurt.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a location that's like not abandoned, like maybe, it's a place and maybe it's not being used, but it's safe or whatever. I mean, sure, the lights out thing, certainly, you don't have distractions and there can be some benefit to being like, okay, let's just make everything still. But usually most of that is for the benefit of the viewer because it looks extra intimidating because you're thinking, wow, if all I had was a flashlight or if all I had was the, infrared camera to see, that would just be terrifying. And it's like, well, yeah. And if you amp that up and you amp those senses, well, then all of a sudden, if something happens, you're freaked out. Well, now you're contaminating your own environment by doing that because what
Well, it's like
happened
that. I
may
don't know
not
if
be
you saw
paranormal.
this show. They had I saw one show where I think they filmed it at that really huge, famous jail in Philadelphia, and I
Hmm.
forget the name.
Eastern
Escapes me.
State.
Boom.
Hmm.
And they had, they took 10 random people off the street.
Hmm.
5 of them, they told nothing about ghost stories about the place.
Yep.
Sent them in there, and these people had experiences off the chart, personal experiences.
Right.
Then 5 of the people, all they just said was this is a very historic site. Capone was here. Many other famous people were here. Just an old abandoned prison, and we give tours of. And they went in, they took the tour, and none of them had any paranormal experiences. It was the planting of the seed with the other 5 people. So I believe a lot. You're right. I believe a lot of that comes into play. I'm so old school. I still think the best team would be a really good experienced photographer, and whether he's a believer or not, it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Very good experienced cameraman. He could be a believer or not.
Hmm.
You get a good, credible psychic who's gifted, truly gifted.
Hmm.
Someone like me who can determine if it's something dangerous, watch out. And
Yep.
then some long tenured in the field Ghostbusters who have a lot of paranormal investigating under their belt. And I think everybody, I still am a big believer that we are our best pieces of equipment. Of
Hmm.
course, you're going to have the photographer and the cameraman there, but you get the investigators in there just doing what they do and experiencing that. And I still believe what's so I find fascinating about this field is it is a storytelling. Like you said, you history. Hauntings are just history, and I love to hear someone who telling their experiences and telling their story and telling the story of a place. And I still think it's very around the campfire telling ghost stories type of a thing with paranormal investigating that I find one one of the remaining wonderful parts about the field and why I'm still passionate about the unknown in that there are no experts and nobody has all the answers. And I find that wonderful about it. And then some of these guys now are just so, trying to pound it down people's throats the proper way to investigate and, you know, um, trying to move it out of being a pseudoscience to being a recognized scientific. Okay, you can approach it scientifically, but I still believe there's a reason why we're not being able to find proof,
Hmm.
according to those types of guys, of life after death. But guys like you and I, things have happened to us and we just know. Can
Hmm.
we prove it? No, but we just know, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
I'm okay with that. So yeah, that was an excellent. So I'm looking forward to you doing more of that. That was probably the number one question: what happened? Why aren't they doing more of that? And what happened to the team and all that? And you addressed all that. So
Yep, we've got a ridiculous amount of episodes that we're working on right now. It's everything from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to an entire town talking about Bigfoot. How about a town in Maryland, which is not only known for hauntings but also Bigfoot, where there's a cast of a foot that was taken, UFOs, and a snallygaster, which is part lizard, part bird for a cryptid.
hmm,
So
very interesting.
lots of things that we've got cooking. And in case anybody, lest they forget if they happen to know about it, let's see, I always forget. So this guy right over here, this fine looking gentleman, will be part of a faith and paranormal little expose that we'll be doing. Had the pleasure of talking to a bunch of different folks, including the Rev, on a very
I don't
important
see him.
topic. A very important topic of faith and one's faith and belief when it comes to God and how that intersects and intertwines with the paranormal. So, still got that in the hopper. Hadn't forgotten
Okay.
about you.
Um, there's so much going on. I mean, I've been on cases where I know I've been fooled, and I thought it was a ghost, and it was
Mm.
ended up being something more malevolent, something without it didn't have good intention. God forbid, demonic. Um, and I admit that. But I've been on cases where the hauntings were so different,
Mm.
and the activity was so unlike anything I'd experienced before. It was a good thing I had a very gifted psychic medium that I trusted, that I
Mm-hmm.
knew was gifted. We're dealing with elemental hauntings here. A lot of people forget
Mm-hmm.
that, and well, it's mainly because a lot of people don't believe in elementals. Here I am another big believer of them. I believe I've experienced them, but
Yep.
I believe some of these hauntings are of elemental nature, and
Mm.
people aren't keeping that avenue open, that
Mm-hmm.
belief system open there to be able to tap into that and figure out what's going on. And you are on the same page with me when it comes to bottom line. It's about helping people. Most of
Yes.
my cases, people have reached out to me. They're hanging on the abyss by their fingernails emotionally and psychologically, and they just want whatever's happening that has turned their life upside down to stop. And I don't have any magic powers, and I don't know all the answers. I just go there, put my arm around them, stand up against the bully with them, and
Mm-hmm.
just try to empower them because people need to realize they are the ones that have the power to turn their lives around and get their life back and get these things to move on. Um, but when they have already bought into the fear, then
Yep.
they're totally weakened and they don't they don't see that. But my main goal now, I've tried to get better at that. During the pandemic, I did. Since I stopped physically going out to work cases, I became a much better counselor because I had
Mm.
to talk to these people through their issues over the phone or on Skype or on Zoom, um, rather than being there in person. So I was able to get people to be more strong
Yes.
and take the bull by the horns and fight back and stand up
Hmm.
and do the things that they needed to do to get their life back.
Yeah.
So that was the good thing, and that's my resolution this year to still continue to be a better counselor and trying to help people realize that they're the ones that truly have the power, and of course to lose a little weight. And the wife's had me on Nutrisystem since October, and I'm sticking to it. I feel great. So I don't know how much longer that'll go, but hi, Charles.
Hi, Charles.
Charles knows
Yep.
elementals exist, and
Mhm.
I'm going to do an elemental episode here and talk about the elementals that I even believe are here on my own property
Mm.
that have been, you know, that have been helpful. And I
Okay.
have friends of mine in my field, deliverance ministry, that get mad at me all the time when I talk about elementals. I went out and prayed to the elementals here so the big tree wouldn't fall on my house once, and it didn't. And I'll tell that story at a later date. But brother, I love you. I respect you. We can't, like I said, can't wait as long as we waited till the last time I talked to you. I will put together another Return of Mod Squad episode for you, me, and Adrian
Excellent.
to do together. Um, like I said, if I can, she's big time TV star now, so it's hard to track her down. And um,
But if anyone can, I think you can. Yeah. I have faith in you, brother.
God bless you. Have a wonderful remainder to your Friday evening. Give
Yes.
your family a big hug from the Rev.
Will do.
Stay beautiful, brother, and stay in touch, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Appreciate
God
it.
bless you, brother. I'll talk to you
God
soon.
bless you.
Good night. Ah, I love him. I know you guys love him. He'll be back. I'm going to do another episode, Return to Mod Squad episode with Adrian and him if I can. Thank you, Greg. I'm going to bring on my producer today. He's going to talk to all of you about a very important event that I'm going to be involved with too next week. And this is Zach Clayton. Zach, once again, before I forget, great job today producing the show. I couldn't have done it
Thank you.
without you. And I'm going to shut up for a few minutes so you can talk to everybody.
Hey, you know what? We're very, very blessed to have you. And as a matter of fact, one of the greatest things that we get to do is on Tuesday, we get to give away a book of some handsome fella. I mean, you might recognize this guy. He's signed an autograph and he's going to give it to us. And on Tuesday, this coming up Tuesday, folks, I'm going to be podcasting for 22 straight hours on my company page for suicide awareness of our heroes. We're losing more than 35 a day right now, and the Rev is going to be one of my first guests at 1:30 Pacific time, and in the morning. You're going to be right there getting me started, which is going to help me out because you and I are now working together and we get to talk to each other a lot. But we're going to have 22 hours worth of stories or solutions. We're looking for people's SOS stories or suggestions. I'm sorry, not solutions, but we're looking for ways to try to initiate conversations. We need to stop and have people think before they pull that trigger, before they string that rope, before they do whatever they do. And this is something that we can take and morph into just the suicide epidemic that we've got everywhere. Rev, you know this more than anybody. There's a lot of pain out there, and this is the first step that we can do towards trying to help people in our lives to where we don't lose anyone, because it's a hard thing to handle. And so Tuesday from 1 a.m. Pacific until until
11 p.m., I think.
Yeah, 11 p.m. Pacific. I'm still thinking mountain time. I'm in the mountains, so
God
I'm right
bless you,
next to
brother.
you.
I don't know how you're going to do it. 22 straight hours, but it's for such a good cause. That'll keep you going.
You know, this
And
is the
I'm
funny thing. This is the funny thing, Rev. I keep telling everybody, you know what? If we can reach the $22 million mark, which is going to build the fob and all the forward operating base and get all everything in to help these heroes out. If we can raise that $22 million, I'll shut up for that day. Notice I have to throw in that caveat there.
well,
So
I will be on at 1:30 a.m. Pacific for 30 minutes with you, and that's a very uh, I just randomly picked that time because I know I go to work that day later in the day. I get the chance to get some sleep and then go to work, but that's a very dark time for many people. Many people uh, around the clock can be a dark time for anybody that's at the end of their rope, and I know that's a terrible way to put that, at rock bottom, but that is the wee hours of the morning can be very dark time for people, and hopefully maybe some people at some dark points in their psyche and in their lives will tune into that moment. And I don't know what I may be able to say in that 30 minutes to help, other than do a lot of praying. But I'm honored to be on for that 30 minutes from 1:30 to 2 p.m. Pacific, and
AM,
just say
AM.
what I have to say on the subject. And I've had some good friends that have committed suicide, so hits close to home. So tell everybody where they can see the live stream.
You can see the live stream right here on Facebook, but you just go to Pact Nonprofit. That's all you do. Pact Nonprofit. Pact is the podcast for all coming together. So it's PACT Nonprofit. Go there on Facebook and you can find it. You can also go to our website, www.communitypayitforward.us. One more time, that's communitypayitforward.us. Rev, just to let you know, the one thing that you can do that people need is you can talk, because reacting means you're acting after a fact. We need to get in front of this. We need to talk to people, get them thinking before they go through with it. So thank you. Thank you to your guest. I'm going to let you finish up. What a great show. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, brother. Thank you, brother. Oh, hope you guys tuned in for that. That's going to be a great cause, and I'm glad I had a few minutes to get Zach on here. And everybody's been asking me what happened to Adrian. I joke. Adrian's still my producer, and maybe I'll get Zach and her both on one of my episodes because she's there. They. I'll let them tell you what they mean to each other, and that she's still in the picture, but he's like her rock star assistant and fills in on many a Friday and helps produce my show. So they're both a godsend to me. I couldn't do the show without them. So God bless you all. I'll be here next week with Dave Spinks. Have a blessed week, everybody. I love you all. Thank you for tuning in. Good night, Jack. Good night, dog. Good night, Harold. Rest in peace. Good night, Ernie. Good night, Bill. Good night, Dan. God bless each and every one of you. Peace.